What's going on, everybody? Welcome to After Prison Show, and today I want to talk to you guys about what happens when you don't snitch or cooperate when you get arrested. And obviously, this is a very hot topic in the news right now because of Tekashi 6ix9ine. This guy's face has been plastered all over. Every meme as of late is about this guy and information that he is potentially willing to give up in an effort to get a lesser sentence. And the crazy thing is going to be when it's all said and done, you know, how much time will he end up with? Where will he go? Will it be protective custody? Will it be a witness protection program? And I know the entire world is just like me, very eager to see, you know, where this dude is going to end up and how things are going to be for him. But with the fact that this dude's face is getting plastered all over everything for the fact that he's cooperating and snitching as it should be, you know, what happens when you don't snitch or cooperate? And folks, there's going to be a lot that we are going to be addressing in this video on this topic. I am going to break this thing down as philosophical as I possibly can. I'm going to share with you guys some personal experiences that I've been through, and also a story that's in the news right now that you probably ain't even aware of, that you should be aware of a guy who didn't snitch, and what exactly happened to him in his case. But before we get into all of this, I do want to take a moment and tell you guys about this brand new mobile game that I just found on my phone called GSN Casino. And folks, this is the #1 social casinos version of America's best TV game shows. In this game, you can enjoy 2 addicting Wheel of Fortune casino slots, or try the dazzling slots version of Deal or No Deal and battle the banker. There's multiple ways to collect tokens every day, new amazing games every month, take part in the high stakes tournaments, and there's endless ways for you to win huge jackpots. And if you love to play slots for fun, you've come to the right place. Experience the thrill of original online slot machines and enjoy breathtaking slot games such as American Buffalo Slots, Classic 777 Slots, Riches of Egypt, Luck O' the Emeralds, and many more. You can also test your luck with the Video Bingo, rack up prize balls, activate the Rocket Boost, and go for Triple Bingo. Play fun video card games such as Outlaw Video Poker, where you can score up to 250 times your bet. Deuces Wild, Classic Video Poker, and so much more. With GSN Casino, the 777 casino fun never ends. So folks, I'm asking all of you to please check out the descriptions down below where you can find the After Prison Show exclusive link to download GSN Casino for free. And when you do so, you're going to be hooked up immediately with 12,000 free chips. But it's with all of that being mentioned that let's go ahead and get into this video about what happens when you don't snitch or cooperate when you get arrested. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. There are a lot of misconceptions about what happens when you don't snitch and what exactly snitching is. And I want to start with the latter on this topic, what exactly snitching is. You know, let's take my own personal situation right now where I've got people who have wrote letters to my house and made threats against my life. You know, by me taking that type of information to the police, is that considered snitching? I'm sure some people may think that it is, but I personally don't think that it is. You know, if somebody does something and they deserve to get arrested and charged for that, if they commit a crime, especially a crime against you, they deserve to be arrested for that. But on the flip side of the coin, if you end up getting in trouble yourself, you've wound up with some charges, you're facing prison time, whether it's state or federal time, and you begin to implicate other people for whatever reason in an effort to get yourself a lesser prison sentence, that is snitching. That's cooperating, that is the definition of that. Or if you were just blatantly hating on a person and you were just mad at them because they're getting more money than you're getting and you need them out of your way so that you can do better, and you take it upon yourself to implicate them just out of greed or envy or jealousy, that also is snitching. If you are telling on somebody with the hopes of getting some kind of a reward for doing so, that is snitching. If somebody does something against you, against your property, they steal something, they hurt you, they threaten you, you got every right, at least I truly believe so. I know there's going to be people who agree with me. There's probably going to be people who don't, but that's okay. I honestly don't feel like that's snitching. But that's neither here nor there. That's mostly just my opinion on what is considered snitching and what isn't. But let's go ahead and move on to some misconceptions about what happens if you don't snitch, if you keep it a stack, if you keep it gully, if you keep it gangster, if you TTG for real. Well, what's supposed to happen then? You may think to yourself, if a person doesn't snitch, they're gonna get all sorts of street cred. And in one hand, yeah, they might. But let's be honest here. If a person doesn't snitch and they end up getting like 15 or 30 years or a life sentence, how much street cred do you honestly think that that person is gonna maintain? Because the reality of the situation is when you are gone, a lot of times you become forgotten. And yeah, your name might come up in a conversation from time to time and people will say, oh yeah, man, hey, boy, Joe got his boots smoked. Joe got 400 years, but he ain't tell on nobody. He ain't tell on nobody. That dude was a G for real. What you doing for Joe? You doing anything for Joe? Is you writing to him, sending him money, sending him pictures? And you know, the thing that you honestly got to think about, just initially, is the street cred worth the rest of your life? Now, ultimately, I am of the belief, and I am one of the few, and I can actually attest to this because I didn't snitch. Because anybody can say, oh yeah, if I ever got locked up, I ain't never gonna tell. Well, have you ever been locked up and put in a situation where telling and snitching could be an out? And in that situation, did you never tell? Anybody can say that they ain't gonna snitch. Oh, I would never snitch. Snitching, that is wrong. You don't snitch. That ain't a part of the game. The game is to be sold, not told. You don't be doing no snitching. And you know, a lot of people might think that way and talk like that. But put them in a situation where they're facing decades in prison. How much water are they actually gonna hold? And I need to say this as well. Look, this is in no way me justifying what this dude Tekashi 6ix9ine is doing. This dude is an idiot. This dude deserves everything that is coming to him. I don't like this guy at all. I don't respect what he's doing. I don't get it. I can't relate to it. I can't justify. I can't understand it. Because if you do the crime, boy, you got to do the time. But ain't nobody living that though. Ain't nobody living that for real. Let's be real. 99% of people who get locked up who are facing some serious charges, if they get the opportunity to tell and they see an out, if they see any type of light at the end of that tunnel, they telling it. They telling it. Straight up. So what happens if you don't snitch? You gonna get that street cred. Boy, that's a gangster for real though. Joe a gangster. He ain't tell, he got 400 years. I'm gonna share a story with you guys, a personal experience. When I got locked up, I served 7.5 years in prison. Got locked up for nonviolent drug offenses and a weapons charge. The gun was not stolen, it was registered, it belonged to a girl who was in the car with me. I had the gun tucked on my person, that's how they say it, right? I got pulled over for speeding, arrested when they found everything, and then got interrogated by the police. And when I got interrogated by the police, they pulled me out of the cell, they brought me into the room, and they asked me what happened. And I tried to keep it 1,000. I tried to keep it absolutely G in there, telling these police like, hey, yo, man, I'm not about to tell you nothing. I don't be working with the coppers, cop. I'm a gangster. I live that life. You see what you caught me with, that little bit of drugs and that gun right there that's really not a stolen gun. I mean, it was registered. I'm not telling you nothing unless you tell me you're not about to charge the girl and the dude that was with me. Man, these cops looked at me and said, F you. F you. You better tell us what happened. You facing a minimum of 15 years in prison. Let that sink in for a second. Put yourself in my shoes. What would be your next move after the cops tell you facing a minimum of 15 years? And you know what I did next? I don't think a lot of people would do what I did. But I absolutely started talking. Telling them everything about myself. I did it. I went here to get the drugs. I was going there to get rid of them. I had the gun. Nobody else knew about nothing. They was just along for the ride. Man, when I told these cops this, they looked at me in absolute shock and awe. He just told on himself, though? Where they do that at? Everybody we've ever brought up in here, they be telling on somebody else. This man just told on himself. You dumb. I completely implicated myself in an effort to try to save the people who were with me. The cops even told me, they said, hey, just make a phone call. I know you can make a phone call, can't you? You know how to use a phone. Just call the plug, call El Chapo. Get us some more, and you could be looking at less. See, it's like math up in here. Really, you think this is an interrogation room. This is a math class. You get us some more, we can help you get some less. And you know what I did when they told me that? And this is real. I started crying, bawling like a baby, because I knew I wasn't about to tell them nothing. I wasn't about to make no phone call. And I knew by me not cooperating or snitching that my life was potentially over. Now, earlier I said that I did kind of tell. They took me back, bawling my eyes out. Probably went on to interrogate the girl and the guy that was with me, an ex-girlfriend of mine, a despicable person. And they would bring me back out and they would throw the ID at me that belonged to the guy that was with me, an individual by the name of Sticky. And they said, you know, we need to know a little bit more about Sticky. And I said, I already told you everything. He was just along for the ride. Nobody knew nothing. It was all me. They said, no, we don't believe that. Did you know the connection or did you need somebody else to make the phone call? And that was exactly the truth. And I knew by them telling me this that somebody had said something. Here I am trying to save this girl and the guy that were with me. But yet, one of them was only out for themselves, and I didn't know which one it was. In my mind, I thought it was the girl. And I'll be honest with you, I wanted to save her more. And I knew anything that I was about to say right then and there, Sticky was gonna get in trouble. I could have just kept my mouth shut, but I'll be honest with you, I really wanted to just save the chick. I had already not said anything, you know, just keeping it real with you, that was my justification for it. And I said to these cops, I said, Sticky made the phone call, he knew the person, I said, but he didn't do anything. I did everything. I told him to make the phone call. He didn't do anything else. He just knew the guy. People know people. He made an introduction, that was it. But as I'm trying to justify me saying that he had to make that phone call, I already know I ain't no dummy. I've been locked up almost my entire life. I already knew I was gonna get this dude a conspiracy charge. Now, mind you, Sticky was a character. They take me back into my little cell. Sticky is acting the fool. He has never been locked up before, and for whatever reason, he's excited about this. He's loving this. Yeah, boy, we going to jail. I got my street cred. I got my stripes now. We going there. Hey, forget you coppers. We going to jail. Boy, that's gangster. Sticky acting a damn fool. I yell through my little cell door, hey, Sticky, shut up, man. Ain't nothing cool about this. But I'm glad you happy we going to jail because I just got you a conspiracy charge by accident. I told him that. I told him. Me and Sticky would end up being cellmates in classification. You stay in there for about 2 or 3 days while you're waiting to get classified into the jail. Sticky ate every tray that came through that chuck hole, his and mine. I couldn't eat. I was like T.I. said in that song, dead and gone. You ever gone to jail and sleep till day 2? Well, that was me because I knew I was about to be gone. But all I had to do was cooperate, though. All I had to do was make a phone call, and all of this could probably disappear. But I wasn't willing to do that. So what happens when you don't snitch? You definitely getting locked up, and you are going to be sick. You are going to be sick, and you're also going to be a little confused. And what I mean by that is, you're going to get into the jail, into population, and if you were anywhere like where I was at, where snitching was a sport, and dudes were proud of that, and they were actually competing against each other for who could get the biggest time cut, who could offer the prosecution the most evidence and get out of jail the fastest. Dudes are gonna look at you if you're not snitching like you're the oddball out. Joe, you ain't cooperating? No. Hey, I got some information right here. I mean, I'm saying just give me a honey bun. I'll give you this dude's whole case. You could be out of here today. I met people that I would become friendly with and associate with in jail, who I would find out were snitching and cooperating. I had friends in this jail that I knew from the free world who lived that gangster type of a life, who were proud of the fact that they had learned the entire blood and Crip sign language, that gang dudes were signing to each other through the windows of the cell blocks. And they were just sitting there writing that joint down like it was a puzzle in the Sunday newspaper. Oh my God, this is a gold mine of information right here. I can't wait to get me a stamp and send this to the prosecutor. I'm getting out. You're gonna be confused when you don't snitch. And you may not think that this is for real or not. This is as real as it gets right here. You are gonna question whether or not you should have snitch. Is it too late? And sometimes it might be the hardest thing for you to do to keep it real, to keep it gangster, to do what everybody says they're gonna do. But yet, maybe 1% or less of people who get locked up and are in a situation where they can snitch are actually not going to do it. And you know, the most obvious thing that's going to happen when you don't snitch is you're most likely going to end up going to court and getting your boots smoked. You are going to end up getting the book thrown at you. You're going to end up in a pretty bad situation, or at least you could. Now, just because you don't snitch doesn't mean you have to get your boots smoked. You know, they're still going to come at you with a plea deal. You don't have to tell on everybody, including God, in an effort just to try to get a bond and get out so you can spend time with that girl, because you know if you away, she ain't going to stay. I had to snitch. I got to get back out there to my kids, though. They ain't trying to give me 70 years. I got kids out there to feed that I wasn't concerned about at all when I was out there committing crime. Not worried about the crime at all, because I damn sure ain't about to do the time, and I got a way to justify it. I got kids to feed. You ain't never going to hear nothing more real than this on this topic right here. You don't necessarily got to get your boots smoked if you don't snitch. They're going to come at you with a plea deal. They came at me with one. It wasn't a good one. They came at me with no amount of time. Joe, plead guilty to every charge -2. They're going to take away your conspiracy to sell drugs, and they're going to take away all your misdemeanors, which were 2. There were 3 total. Reckless driving, resisting arrest, but you are going to have to wear your 5th or 6th offense, driving on a suspended or revoked license, which carries a minimum of a year in prison. So just because you don't snitch doesn't mean they're not going to come at you with a plea deal. Now, in my case, I would not take the plea deal, because if I pled out and they gave me 20 years, 15 years, I had no way to appeal that, because the saying goes, if you take the deal, you ain't going to be able to appeal. If you go to trial and you lose and get found guilty, you can appeal. That's the only way an appeal works. Do not get no appeal if you take the deal, or at least in most all cases. There may be a select few where that's actually not true. And if you know of any, you know, you can let me know. But if you take the deal, ain't no appeal. They came at me with a BS plea deal. I did not take that. And I went to trial. And on the day of my trial, I still had the option of pleading out. My lawyer would come and tell me, Joe, what are we going to do? Never forget this woman, Stephanie Boland. That was my court-appointed lawyer's name. She actually quit the public defender's office to go be a federal lawyer. I thought that was a big deal, but in the feds, most everybody's taking a plea. So really all you're doing is writing down on a piece of paper, pled guilty, I'm the lawyer. But I got so much respect for this woman because she tried so hard to go to bat for me. She saw that I did what nobody in this jail was doing, which was not snitching. Told on myself completely. Had the 2 worst cops I could possibly have on my case. And when this woman quit the public defender's office, I was the only case that she kept. And on the day of my trial, she was talking to me in the bullpen through the little glass or through the bars. I can't remember what it was. And she said, Joe, what are we going to do? And the only question I had for her was who was in the courtroom. Because that girl in the beginning who I was trying to save, I didn't want to see her get in any trouble. You know, the prosecution wanted her to come and testify against me. So I was asking my lawyer, who's out there? I said, is that girl out there? She says, Joe, it doesn't matter. What are you going to do? Are you going to take the deal or are we going to trial? I said, no, is that girl out there ready to testify against me? She said, yes, Joe, but that doesn't matter. I said, we're going to trial. I want to watch this chick get on the stand and point her finger at me like Tekashi 6ix9ine's pointing his finger at everybody. And for what? I tried to save this person. You're going to get on that stand to save yourself. So what's going to happen when you don't snitch? Your heart is going to break a lot when you see who is really real and who isn't. Trust and believe me, you're going to see a lot more people who ain't real than who are. When I told my lawyer that I wanted to take this thing to trial, all because I wanted to watch this chick testify against me, my lawyer basically begged me, saying, Joe, you are facing like 50 years. That is pride, Joe. If you get found guilty, they can give you like 50 years. I said, Miss Boland, what else do I have at this point besides pride? I went into that courtroom. That chick was sitting there ready to testify against me. They didn't even need her. They had my statement. They had the canine officer. When the dog got a hit, that was all they needed to be able to search the car. When they found what they found, I made statements against myself. Case closed. That chick was ready to snitch on me. I got found guilty on all 8 charges. Like 4 felonies and 4 misdemeanors. I said 3 earlier, but I'm pretty sure it was 4. I remember it was 4 and 4. What's going to happen when you don't snitch? Well, in my particular case, after I got found guilty on everything, I was never more scared in my life than I was after my trial. After I had gotten found guilty, after I had never cooperated and given up anybody else in an effort to save myself, after I had made statements against myself, after I didn't take the plea deal and probably wasted taxpayer dollars for about a 45-minute trial and got found guilty on everything, I was never more scared in my life than during that time that I was waiting to go to sentencing. And also, if we're going to be real about it, still questioning, what would it have been like had I cooperated? I probably wouldn't be sitting in this situation right now. But then again, I probably couldn't live with myself neither. I had never been more scared in my life, feeling like they could give me up to 50 years. So during the time, actually throughout the entire 2 years that it would take for me to get through my trial and get my time and get to prison to serve my 7 years, I took it upon myself to get my GED. I started drawing cartoons, submitting cartoons to newspapers and magazines, getting rejection letters sent back. I mean, it may sound trivial and like it doesn't even have any weight in the story, but it's very important because I was trying to show some sort of initiative, that I could be some sort of a contributing person in this world and not the absolute heinous bad person that these charges that I had just gotten found guilty of portrayed me to be. When I went to my sentencing, I had a whole speech written out about how sorry I was. Here's what I've done in an effort to try to do better, to better myself. But I wouldn't even get a chance to say that. The prosecution would go first with their sentencing recommendation. And my case, for whatever reason, was different. Maybe it's the color of my skin. Let's just be real. But the prosecutor would say, Your Honor, this guy has mandatory minimum time. He cannot get anything less than 7 years because he is a convicted felon who got caught with a weapon. He is nonviolent. The gun was registered to somebody who was in the car, and he got caught with the drugs that he did. He cannot get anything less than 7 years, Your Honor. So here's how we recommend to sentence him. And the prosecution would begin to read off every single charge and say 8 years for this, we're going to give him 7 of that. 8 years for this one, we'll suspend all 8. 8 years for this charge, we'll suspend 7.5 years. And by the time it was all said and done, the prosecution had recommended, for whatever reason, and without snitching or cooperating, and taking them to trial and losing, a 7.5-year prison sentence. I got absolutely blessed. I'm not even going to make any kind of exaggeration. God was with me in that courtroom. It does not work out for everybody the way that it worked out for me. But I had made a promise to God and to myself that if I got anything less than 15 years when I went to sentencing, that I would do everything in my power to become a better person in this world. I've tried to do that, and I've proven that here on After Prison Show. But I want to share with you guys one final story. It's a story in the news, a story that you're not seeing because everything is Tekashi 6ix9ine right now, and about the fact that he's snitching. I want to share a story with you guys right now about a guy that I've talked about here before on After Prison Show by the name of Travion Blunt. An individual who was 15 years old, and I think this took place back around 2006, when this young kid and 2 other individuals, they were all gang members, they went up into this house party, and they robbed a couple of people up in there for some weed, a cell phone, a little bit of money. They had no masks on. There was a gun that was used in this robbery, but no shots were fired. One of Travion Blunt's co-defendants would actually pistol whip somebody, boom, in the party. And I was actually locked up with one of this young kid's co-defendants who got 10 years and who actually snitched on Travion Blunt. This would all be aired out all over the prison compound because Travion Blunt's story would become big in the news while we were all sitting in prison. I think it was around 2014 is when this story first broke. And the reason this story first broke was because Travion, he didn't snitch, and he also didn't take the plea deal. He ended up getting convicted of 49 of 51 felonies and got sentenced to 6 life sentences, plus 100 and something odd years. While his co-defendants pointed the finger at him. And why wouldn't they? They're taking the plea deal. Travion's not. The prosecution needs to convict Travion, and what better way to do so than have the co-defendants point him out like Tekashi up in the courtroom. This young kid absolutely got his boots smoked. In fact, it was actually reported and the reason this became so big in the news was because he was like the youngest kid to receive the most amount of time for a crime that didn't involve the loss of life. And like I said, I knew this co-defendant. I had actually done tattoo work on this co-defendant prior to finding out about the fact that, he was a snitch. And here's another misconception about that whole snitching thing. Boy, when you find out a dude a snitch, snitches get stitches. The whole prison found out this dude was a snitch. And he walked around that compound every single day. No problems at all, not even from his own gang, not even from his own set. It's almost like it's accepted these days. Not only is it accepted, it's also expected. And you know, why wouldn't an individual snitch when you've got the opportunity to get 10 years versus not snitching and get 6 life sentences plus 100 years? That's the reality of the situation. The young kid Travion would make the news. The governor would get involved in this situation and he would step in. Travion would go from having a 6 life term plus 100 and something odd year prison sentence to the governor commuting that to 40 years. While his 2 other co-defendants only got 10 years and 13. But there is some hope in this young kid's story, and it was just recently reported that the governor or somebody else stepped in again. Somebody else stepped in and has now just commuted his entire sentence to a 14-year sentence, which he's already served. But in the process of him doing all of this time and probably feeling like he's never coming home, he caught some street charges while serving his prison sentence. And they're trying to figure out that situation, but this kid actually does have the opportunity to get released. Travion didn't snitch, and you ain't never heard about him. So when you talk about that street cred, what does that even mean? You know? I wonder if his codees have been putting money on his books and sending him commissary and letters and stuff like that. Boy, Travion, you a real G. Yeah, we told on you, but here's $20. They probably ain't even doing that much. You would hope that they are. And don't get me wrong, when this young kid gets released, he's not young anymore. I mean, he's a grown-ass man. When he gets released, oh, the whole world, or at least everybody he knew, they are going to have missed him. They are going to have missed him. Because when you are gone, you're forgotten. And when you're back, you're missed. And that's as deep as I can give it to you guys right there. I actually created that myself while I was locked up because that's how I was feeling. It's funny how when you're gone, you're forgotten. But when you're back, you're missed. Folks, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm sorry it was a little bit of a longer video, but there was a lot to address in this. And if you did so, please leave a like and a comment letting me know exactly what you thought about this. And as always, until next time, enjoy life, the free world. Never take a moment for granted and make the most of every day.